28 years. That's how long it took. 28 years of watching other countries play. 28 years of coming close but never close enough. 28 years of wondering, will we ever see our team on the world stage again? An entire generation never grew up seeing their national team in a World Cup or European competition. Never. Not once. But on one night in June 2025, everything changed. This is the story of how a small country of 5 million people went from being ranked second in the world to disappearing completely, to building a system that brought them back from the dead. Our story begins in 1990. Norway's football team won just 3 of their last 17 games. Nobody paid attention to them. Nobody cared. Then they hired a man named Eagle Olsen. Everyone called him Drillo, and Drillo had an idea that would change everything. Drillo wasn't like other coaches. He was a scientist. While other coaches relied on gut feelings, Drillo watched hours of game footage. He counted every pass, every shot, every chance to score. He used computers when nobody else did. And he discovered something. Norway couldn't beat bigger countries by playing their own game. They weren't as talented. They weren't as fast, so they needed to be smarter. Drillo created a system. Defend deep and let other teams come at you. Then the moment they lose the ball, launch it forward to your attackers on the wings, catch them off guard, score before they can recover. It was simple, it was ugly, some people even called it boring, but it worked. In 1993, Norway was put in a qualifying group with England and the Netherlands, 2 football superpowers. Experts said it's impossible for Norway to qualify. Norway travelled to England and won. England's players were confused. They didn't really know how to handle Norway's strange tactics. 1 month later, Norway beat Poland 3-0. They had done the impossible. They were going to the World Cup. By October 1993, Norway was ranked number 2 in the entire world. Only Brazil was better. But the greatest moment came 5 years later in the 1998 World Cup in France. Norway's final group stage game came against Brazil, the defending world champions. The team with Ronaldo, Rivaldo and Bebeto, one of the greatest teams ever assembled. With 12 minutes left, Brazil scored 1-0, and at that point, it looked like Norway was going home. But then, in the final minutes, Norway striker Tore Andre Flo scored 1-1. The stadium exploded. 2 minutes before the final whistle, Flo was fouled in the penalty box. This time, Kjetil Rekdal stepped up to take the penalty. He scored. Norway 2, Brazil 1. Final score. Norway had beaten Brazil, one in only 4 countries in history that had never lost to Brazil, ever. Back home, the entire country was going crazy. The weird scientific coach had become a national hero. Norway made it to the next round. They played well. They had proven that small countries could compete against the giants if they were smart enough. But then something went wrong. After the year 2000, Norway disappeared. They didn't just get worse, they vanished completely from international football. No World Cup, no European Championship, nothing. 2002 World Cup, they missed out. 2004 Euros, they missed out. 2006 World Cup in Germany, they missed out. And 2008 Euros, they also missed out. 2010 World Cup in South Africa, you guessed it. The list kept growing. Year after year after year after year. 12 major tournaments, 28 years gone, nothing. Iceland even qualified for tournaments. They have only 376,000 people at the time. That's the size of only a small Norwegian city. Wales also qualified, population of just 3 million people. Even tiny Luxembourg came close. But Norway, with 5 million people and all the sporting facilities and oil wealth, they could not make it. They hired 9 different coaches in 24 years, each of them promising that this is going to be their time, each of them failing. In 2008, Norway didn't win a single game all year, not one. Then something interesting happened. Around 2015, 2 young Norwegian players started getting attention. Martin Ødegaard was 15 when he was the youngest player to ever play in the Norway's national team. He was so talented that Real Madrid signed him as a teenager. Erling Haaland, on the other hand, was a powerful striker from a small town, fast, strong and hungry. By 2022, both players were superstars. Haaland was scoring goals for fun at the biggest clubs in Europe, and Ødegaard was captain of Arsenal in the Premier League. Norway fans thought, finally, we have world-class players. This is our year. They were wrong. Turkey beat them 3-0 at home in Norway. It was so embarrassing. In their final qualifying match, they lost to the Netherlands 2-0. Norway finished third in their group, and they failed once again. A year later, they tried for the European Championship. Same result, they lost to Scotland at home. They drew with Georgia and finished third, so they were eliminated. People started asking, is Norway cursed? How can they have all these incredible players and still lose? The problem wasn't talent. The problem was the system. Or rather, there was no system. But while everyone was watching the national team fail, something was being built in secret. Something that would change everything. In 2017, while Norway's senior team was still losing, the Norwegian Football Federation made a decision. They created something called the Academy Classification Model. It was simple. Rate every youth academy in Norway, give them scores based on their coaches, facilities, and how well they develop young players. The best academies get 5 stars and more funding. The worst get 1 star and they have to improve. They hired 700 coaches across the country. Every talented 12-year-old boy will get the same training, the same philosophy, the same chance. They built small football pitches everywhere, even tiny towns got them. These small pitches force kids to think fast and be creative with the ball. Norway is cold, really cold. So they built indoor facilities where kids could train all year round. The philosophy was clear. Don't just find talented kids. Create a system that makes average kids better and makes talented kids into superstars. This is where our story starts to connect. Remember Martin Ødegaard? When he was 6 years old, his father and neighbors raised money to put artificial turf in their local field. Young Martin spent hours on that field teaching himself tricks, practicing shots, and building skills. The system found him, trained him. At 13, he was practicing with professional players. At 15, he became Norway's youngest ever international player. Erling Haaland grew up in an even smaller town called Bryn. His youth club built an indoor football hall. Haaland and his friends played there every weekend for hours. He was always playing against older boys, and the coaches made him work harder than everybody else. When he was 16, he moved to Molde. His coach was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, one of Norway's greatest ever strikers. On July the 1st, 2018, something crazy happened. Haaland scored 4 goals in the first 21 minutes of a game. 4 goals. Europe's biggest clubs started calling. Everyone wanted this kid. But the moment that showed the world what was coming happened in Poland in 2019. Norway's under-20 team had a match against Honduras in the under-20 World Cup. Haaland was 18 years old at the time. He scored once, then twice, then 3 times. A hat-trick, but guess what? He didn't stop there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. In one game, 9 goals in one game. It was a world record. No one had ever done this before, even at this level, not Messi, not Ronaldo. Back in Norway, people were paying attention now. He was an 18-year-old kid still playing for a small Norwegian club and breaking world records. But here's the sad part. Haaland was scoring 9 goals for a youth team and Norway's senior national team was still failing to qualify for anything. The future was ready, but the present was still broken. What Norway needed was someone who understood the old glory and the new system. Someone who had lived through the best days and knew what it took to win. They needed someone with skin in the game. In December 2020, Norway hired Ståle Solbakken as their head coach. Solbakken wasn't just any coach, he was there. In 1998, when Norway beat Brazil, Solbakken was on that team. He played in that World Cup. He played in the Euro 2000, that was Norway's last tournament appearance by the way. He knew what it felt like. He knew what Norway had lost. But here's something else you didn't know about Ståle Solbakken. In 2001, during the training session, his heart stopped. He collapsed. The team doctors found no heartbeat. The ambulance arrived and he was pronounced dead. For 7 minutes, his heart didn't beat. 7 minutes. Then somehow they revived him. He survived. They put a pacemaker in his chest and he went back into coaching. He became one of Europe's best coaches. He won championships in Denmark. He built great teams. When Norway called him in 2020, he said yes. This was personal. This was about finishing what he'd started as a player. But his first attempt failed. Even with Haaland and Martin Ødegaard, they couldn't qualify for the 2022 World Cup. His second attempt also failed. Norway couldn't qualify for Euro 2024. After his second failure, Solbakken gave an interview. He said, "No one is in more pain than me. No one hurts more than us. I apologize that we didn't manage this." But he didn't quit. He couldn't quit. Not when he was this close.
Because what we are doing right now is really good, and there's a good spirit in the group, so we need to finish good, I think.
In September 2024, Solbakken announced something. He said, "I'll take this qualification and then there's high probability I'll do something else. I've said no to big club jobs because I'm determined to make one last attempt here. And then I think that's it." This was his final mission. Win or lose, this was the end. After this, he was done with international management. On December 13th, 2024, they held a draw in World Cup qualifying. Norway learned who they'll be playing: Italy, Israel, Estonia, and Moldova. For the first time in years, Norway had caught a break. No Spain, no Germany, no Netherlands, just Italy and some other teams. The final chance had arrived. Norway's first qualifying match was away to Moldova. This was their easiest game on paper. They won 5-0. Haaland, of course, scored. They looked confident, no nerves, just execution. 3 days later, they played Israel and won 4-2. 2 games, 2 wins. But the real test was coming. 6th of June 2025, Italy at home. Italy, 4-time World Cup winners, one of the greatest football teams. They were coming to Oslo. On that Friday night, King Harald V of Norway came to the stadium. The entire country was watching. Before kickoff, 40,000 people sang the national anthem. You could feel the weight of 28 years in that moment. Then the game began. Then in the 18th minute, Norway's Antonio Nusa got the ball. He passed the ball to Alexander Sørloth, and Sørloth beat the Italian goalkeeper very easily with his left foot. 1-0 Norway. The stadium exploded, but Norway wasn't done. In the 42nd minute, 20-year-old Antonio Nusa got the ball again. He beat one Italian defender, then another, and then he shot the ball from inside the box. 2-0 Norway. The Italian players couldn't believe what was happening. The defenders were arguing with each other. Everyone was falling apart. Then in stoppage time, just before halftime, Martin Ødegaard got the ball in midfield. He looked up, he saw Erling Haaland making a run, and then he played the perfect pass through the Italian defense. Haaland got the ball, one touch, and he went round the Italian goalkeeper. And then he scored. 3-0. Haaland ran to the corner, his teammates around him, crowd was shaking, the whole stadium was shaking. Even King Harald was on his feet applauding. The referee blew the whistle for halftime. 3-0, Norway was humiliating Italy. In the second half, Italy tried to fight their way back, but Norway's defense was perfect. They didn't panic, they didn't make any more mistakes. And when the final whistle blew, that was it. Game over. Players fell to the ground. Some of them were crying. Solbakken was hugging his staff. Fans were singing. After the match, Italian coach Luciano Spalletti had said they couldn't just handle Norway's intensity. For the first time in 25 years, Norway had beaten Italy by this margin. The last time was during the Drillo era. After that night, Norway was unstoppable. They went on to beat Estonia 1-0 away from home. Then on September the 9th, they played Moldova at home and then they won 11-1, 11 goals to 1. Haaland scored a lot of goals. It was a complete demolition. In October, they beat Israel 5-0. 6 matches, 6 wins, 27 goals scored, only 3 goals allowed. Norway was perfect. On September the 9th, 2025, it became official. Norway had qualified for the 2026 World Cup. 28 years, 12 missed tournament, an entire generation that had never seen their country play. It was over. Norway was back in international competition. As at the point of recording this video, Erling Haaland now has 51 goals for Norway. 51 goals in 51 games. He's Norway's all-time leading goal scorer. That 9-goal game when he was 18 years old, that was just the beginning. Martin Ødegaard, who is the kid who became Norway's youngest ever player at 15, he is now the captain of the team and he has led them back into the international tournament. And Stal Solbakken, a man who survived death, who played in their last tournament appearance, who bet everything on this last final mission, he did it. The story isn't really much about football, it's about systems, it's about patience, it's about a small country that refused to give up. In 2017, they built a system. They trained 700 coaches, they built facilities in small towns, they created a plan. 7 years later, the system produced a golden generation. And in 2025, that golden generation delivered. In 2026, Norway will play in the World Cup in North America. They'll step onto that big stage for the first time since 1998. And somewhere in Norway right now, there's a 6-year-old kid playing in one of those mini pitches, dreaming, practicing, working, because now it's actually possible. 28 years on, that's how long it took, but they made it eventually. Welcome back, Norway.